Okay.
A new game from Software. I can't wait to get my ass beat with demons, devils, and fairy princesses? Wait a second. This isn't a Souls game. I want my money back. What the hell? I don't want to play as this girl. Wait, cards? Goblins? What kind of Bloodborne, Soulsborne game is this? Okay. And you're telling me this game is a card game? Alright. I guess I'll give it a chance. Strange looking card game with a princess fairy summoning demons. Actually looks pretty cool. This is Lost Kingdoms, a game that came out in 2002 that was only released on the Gamecube, oddly enough. Now, from Software, we all know Dark Souls and Souls-like games like Dark Souls 1 through 3, Bloodborne, Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice, and of course Elden Ring. Before that, though, they actually came out with a ton of games, which we will go into, one of which is Lost Kingdoms. Let's check it out. Oh! We begin like any good fantasy story does, in a castle. As you are the princess, I am Princess Sir Crisp. Sir Crispy Princess, and you immediately get attacked by skeletons. Ah! So the gist of this game is you are a princess endowed with a rune that protects her kingdom and gives her the powers of these other ancient beings with cards to kill them and summon monsters through. Interestingly enough, it sounds exactly like Yu-Gi-Oh!, but with a female protagonist. In this game, you don't actually attack yourself, you utilize the cards to summon monsters for you. You'd think that this would be a bummer, but it actually leads to some really interesting dynamics with fighting these enemies. You meet some zany characters along the way, like Alexander the noob that nobody likes from college. Just stop, you know it all. Get away from me, please. And Auntie Gertie, who is literally psycho and smells like soup. Other than that, though, you go exploring dungeons like a typical game, and at kind of an isometric pattern. You end up looking for the runes to restore the power to your kingdom after the darkness of the black fog engulfs everyone. You find these runes to basically save everyone. But of course, there's an anti-hero, Helena, the dark sorceress, who is trying to do the same exact thing. She looks for the runestones, but for a different purpose, serving, of course, the Dark Lord because she is wearing purple. Never trust a sorceress wearing purple. And she summons Dracula on your ass, so that's something. But of course, you can't deal with her. She is another person that you fight in a way that also utilizes the cards, so that does kind of end up like a duel scenario. The fighting in the game is generally like pretty intensive on the mind. You do have to think of the correct combinations, and when you're in Auntie Gertie's house, you can actually make your own cards to create the most powerful versions of what you want. For example, here I'm upgrading a sandworm into a kraken, and then you can actually split cards to your advantage and copy them through duplication. some Dragon Warriors. Now, these cards do have archetypes, and this one, for example, is a neutral card. You can see in the black corner. It's a summon monster, so you just throw it out there. But the neutral cards don't have a type. They aren't affected by any other types. Other than that, you have Earth, Wind, Fire, and Water as these types here you can see. You definitely want to have a nice balance of those in your deck because they definitely do more damage based on the other types that you would want to kill, such as water killing fire, just like in Pokemon. It is really interesting as you go through the game. There is plenty of adjustments you can make. I almost, after every level, am adjusting my deck, and it seems to pay off. Let's do a deep dive into the actual gameplay now. Now, taking a look at this setup, it seems kind of clunky and crowded, but it's really not that bad. You're just running around, throwing down cards, beating enemies, and for the most part, just letting them fight each other. It does get very difficult to aim correctly and actually hit people, though, and that does get kind of frustrating after a while. Now, since this was 2002, you would have assumed that this game would have a lot of cinematics and be really going deep in on that storyboard kind of thing. But that's not really what you find here. It's kind of a quick in and out gameplay, which I really prefer. You just pick your deck, you run through a map, enemies come out, and you try to kill them. Pretty simple. The strategy part of this game is really trying to figure out which types of cards work well against other enemies. You want to have a good balance of ranged weapons, powerful, strong ones in the beginning, and then also you want to have some heals as well as other things that replenish your cards. You'll see here that a lot of gems keep popping out. In the top left corner, you see I have 0 power. You need power to basically use your cards, and if they're red and burned up like that, you can't use them. Well, not really. You can still use them, it just saps your life away. So what I found while playing this game that's really important is you need to make sure you can have enough cards towards the end of the bosses like this so that you're ready to go. If you use all your cards right away, you're going to die and not have enough power to survive. This guy is super important. He gives you more cards. I would highly recommend getting the Mind Flayer. But you will get drained as you go, and eventually you'll get to a part where you're using all your health to play your cards, and you're running really low. This gets super dangerous, and you do die sometimes. Luckily, not nearly as often as you think you would, though. I only died during the bosses a couple times, which of course I'll be showing, but for the most of the game, we're just going through, plowing through enemies, taking them out. I mean, if you know the combinations of the attributes, it's really fun just taking people out. There's other times, though, where you utilize cards like this golden butterfly, and you're like, what the hell are you doing? Help me! Help me! I have 1 HP and 1 gem, and he's doing absolutely nothing. So what I would recommend is highly using a lot of the cards that hit quick, because therefore, like those ones, the mummy, they give you gems when you hit people. If you have a lot of those cards, you should be good. But there are times where you just run low, and everything's gone, and you just basically let yourself die. I love games like that, too. They just tell you that you straight up failed. I miss that. You have failed. I think we need that. Anyway, here's another boss, but sometimes it can be really easy. And like I said, it's really just a matter of what cards you have on hand. If you go into a boss battle without the correct kind of card combinations, it is randomized there, so you might get fucked, but that's not really too much of a concern. If you have the cards to play them. That's how I view it. Throw down your summonings and utilize the fairy for heals. You'll be fine for the most part. Sand Golem, absolutely torched. But then you have to keep fighting after the boss is done. So you got this stupid goblin dude shitting on your face. And sometimes you just literally run out of cards, period. Like this scenario. This is way more of a Souls-like kind of a boss. We got the Lich, and I just let him beat my ass because I had no cards left. Another really cool thing about this game is at the end of the levels, once you've beaten the boss, you get a randomization of picking a new card, which sometimes can result in being the boss itself. For example, here, I was able to actually pull off getting the Mind Flare, which is a huge card. Like I said before, he actually replenishes you more cards. You can actually buy that in the store as well. These big summonings are definitely helpful to have. I would highly suggest not having too many of them in your deck, though. If you have too many big ones, they cost a lot of gems, and they leave you out of it completely. Just drain throughout these levels. Once you keep going in this game, you'll see that these levels become way more elongated. They're not hard or puzzly to get through, they're just long. So it takes a lot of stamina to realize, okay, you need this amount of cards that don't require too much gems, but then they can replenish themselves. As long as you can do that and take out enemies fairly quickly, you should be fine. I really do like the summoning ones. They literally just stay out there and kill people for you. And sometimes, as you'll see on the right, they start burning a little bit, but if they don't die at the end of a battle, they actually stay with you, which is really nice. Some of these areas are clearly From Software spots, like this one in the underground pipes where you move slow in the molasses. I just really am not a fan of slow-moving stuff like that. Maybe that's just me, but who wants to walk around slow in a dungeon, you know? You also have the classic skeletons from Software games, like the original Kingsfield RPGs on PS1, as well as the original Dark Souls. I wanted to take a look at some of the bosses in more detail. They do tend to be easy, except for the end of the game. Now, you get to the end of these levels, and if you have, let's say, you got 30 cards left over, you're just going to use them all, right? It doesn't matter. You just hit them all in a row, and as long as you're hitting your enemies, you're getting gems, and that allows you to keep playing your cards. As it gets harder and harder, it gets more difficult to land those hits, of course. But why not just keep firing away, like I just did right there? The dragon is done. There's nothing you can do. Another trick to combat is throwing down your cards when your enemy tries to hit you with something. Now you become pseudo-invincible. For example, right here, I throw down the Lycanthrope Werewolf, while this big dude is trying to hit me. It avoided the attack because it put me in invincible mode, and I hit him. So there's really no worry there. If you can get in a rhythm and manage to just keep hitting while you're also firing off your cards, you just won't get hit at all. But I always have a fairy left over just in case. This is one of my favorite cards, Cerebrus. Just smashes into his face. Now, one thing that's not really mentioned that I should be talking about is the graphics and the sound. The sound, as you've heard throughout this whole video, has been the exact same for all of the battle music. I kind of like it, like the intro music is nice and everything, but when you repeat the same song for a game like this, it's so repetitive. I can't believe they didn't put more tracks down. And the graphic style, and these more cinematic scenes definitely look pretty cool. Also, the transitional scenes are even better. Some people get thrown off by the background, as the whole game takes place kind of like on a block style while you're battling, and the whole background is just kinda in the way. It's a little bit distracting, as you can see. It does look pretty trippy though, and I will say kind of impressive for what the Gamecube has to offer in 2002. Remember, this was not very many years after 3D even came out in the first place, so for it to be at this level, I was kind of impressed. So I'll give you a look at the final boss battle, because, hey, why not? If you really care about the story, well, there isn't really too much of a story. We have the God of Destruction. He was behind it all along. He was basically possessing the Dark Lord. So, I mean, this guy's really interesting. He looks like a Final Fantasy boss, kind of like Kulex in Super Mario RPG, or that like transference of a Final Fantasy boss. And you have this super crazy looking stage, kind of like a Super Smash Bros. Melee final area. I am your god, but yada yada yada. Okay, let's get to the fight. Now let's see how I do this. I'm pretty sure that I did not have nearly enough cards, so I was probably playing it safe. This guy, yeah, clearly hits super hard, and you can't really avoid his attacks. I was thinking that I could just by firing off, and these are the kind of cards that you don't see until like the later part of the game, so they do a lot of damage. For him, though, he is one of those bosses who basically is impervious to elemental damage, so whatever I was doing, it didn't really matter that much. As you can see, I almost got one hit right there, but I did heal immediately, so that does help. You can subvert that with some of the bosses if you're about to get killed. You can just basically heal in the meantime. It's really important to have that heal ready if you have nothing else. But you do gotta hit enough to get gems, and this guy didn't give me very many gems. That was the problem. Right here, I have no gems to use any more of my attacks, so at this point, I'm literally just using my HP, and he basically knocked me in one hit. That's the From Software I know. Overall, this game was pleasantly surprising and happy for me to play. It was only about 5 hours that it took me to go through this whole thing. And for a game to be respectful of your time these days is awesome, especially when you think it's a really in-depth RPG based on the title. I mean, it's From Software, what do you expect? But hey, they tried something new, and it was nice to see them actually broaden out a little bit. Sure, there's some flaws here, getting around, using the cards, the dumb backgrounds, and the repetition of the battle music. But those things can be, avoided. Generally, I had a good time playing the game and using the cards. And that's really what it's about, right? So honestly, for the ranking of this game, I'd give it a broiled. It's something that I won't really come back to very often, but I was pleasantly surprised that I went back to it in the first place. So I hope you all enjoyed this segment of Christmas Collections, getting into the GameCube games, and seeing the origins of an incredible developer such as From Software. It was really fun to share this with y'all. I hope you get a chance to check it out if you like. It is around $60, but if you get it on a cheaper price, I think it is worth playthrough, especially if you like card games. Thanks for tuning in. So long. Peace in, and Fin.
Hey, I know what you're saying, but the platforming could have been so much better. Oh, hey, how you doing? Didn't see you guys there. Mr. Crispy here. Just want to take a quick second to go over the ranking system in our videos. Now we got crisp, of course, which is perfect texture. That's what we're looking for. Right? Now we got fried, which is very good, delicious, and it makes you want to come back for more. Not absolutely perfect, though. We have broiled, which is kind of weird, right? A little bit of weird taste to it. It's good, though. Very good. And then we have charred, which is dark and rough around the edges. And there's something, it could have been better. There a little more effort could have been put into it. And then we have burnt, of course, which is just pure unedible. Now, we wanted to give a quick guideline to this because we know that our gaming appetites are all over the place these days, especially with retro games. We love to break it down for you, and it's a lot of fun for us to do so. We'd love to show you a little bit more videos, so stay tuned to our channel. Please like and subscribe. We'll hit you guys with some more videos, retro reviews, movies, shenanigans with Buzz and I. We're really excited to share some more content with you guys. As always, thanks a lot for tuning in. We'll see you next time. And don't forget, in the meantime, keep it crispy. Right?